There we go. The tariffs are delayed by 90 days. News out of the Trump White House today has sent the markets skyrocketing. We'll be discussing that and much more today on Money Never Sleeps. Thanks for joining us today, folks. As we get going, do us a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We need as much support as we can so I can pay for better internet. Jesus Christ, I hate you, Comcast. Remember, nothing that Kevin or I say is financial advice, so please do your own research for making any buys or sells. Kev, we got the word that tariffs on everyone but China are delayed 90 days, so market's absolutely ripping right now. Before that news broke, Trump was on social media saying, now's a good time to buy. It is just a free-for-all in the markets. How are you feeling today? I know there's a lot to go through. We had the bond market was absolutely ridiculous yesterday. We have inflation data coming out tomorrow and Friday. So many moving parts right now. It's kind of tough to figure out what to do. But how are you feeling on this wonderful Wednesday?
I'm doing great. Leroy, thank you. And yes, green baby green. This is a pretty wild day in the market. I think I can't remember who it was. It was either you, House, or Chris. I was like, 5,400 is an interesting level. We might get to it. You keep finding a little bit of resistance around there right now for the S&P. And again, I base everything off the S&P because that's just pretty much the entire market, at least when it comes to the Mag 7 and a lot of these other things that are just fluctuating in price so much. But it's wild, right? Sitting president says buy the dip, and 90 minutes later, he announces that they're giving the 90-day little thing where there's no tariffs for other countries. China, unfortunately, is on the receiving end of 100% of them as of right now, and it's just absolutely insane. But there's a lot of stuff that happened in the past few days, and we kind of expected that we were in a wave 4. I still think we are in a wave 4. We'll look at the charts in a few minutes, but this 100% reads to me that either something's broken in the system, people need to get out from much higher, and this 5,400 level is very important, or what happened in the treasury market last night is kind of a sign to Trump that, hey, this shit, as fast as I was going with a lot of this, isn't necessarily working. I don't believe one bit anything that's coming out of the entire cabinet, right? Besides coming out and saying this was the plan all along. Yeah, since like 5 minutes ago, and nothing was fucking working. I mean, it's been a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I don't know what to make. I could see. I think it's hard to figure out because, on one hand, I could see that having been the plan all along, while at the same time they were forced to do this sooner than they wanted because of the bond market, right? I don't think it's crazy to believe that the plan was to, it's like a negotiation, right? You throw out the biggest number possible to really get their attention, and then you try to maybe meet in the middle or maybe meet more favorably toward your side. I think that could have been the strategy, but then they saw that, the bond market was getting torched, and so they decided to act quicker. Maybe that's not how it played out. And I know the 10-year sale went pretty well today. So that is, was that some stealth QE?
Yeah, which is,
so
again, we called for that to happen too, right? The Fed was going to intervene. I don't think they've intervened completely, but it's I think that no one necessarily knows what's going to happen in this market. And I think a lot of people are just about, I need to liquidate and I need to do it at a higher price. That's kind of my opinion of what's going on over Asia in the past 24 hours, with Japan selling off all the U.S. treasuries and China doing very similar things. And now you're getting this today where every time it gets to 5,400, it keeps coming down. It's trading within a 100-point range right now, which to me tells me it's distribution. But I don't know. Some people are going to take what Trump and his cabinet are saying at face value. I'm not. that's just me. I'm just going to trust the debt markets more than anything. And I don't believe in this rally one bit. It might be a stupid thing for me to say right now, but I don't buy it one bit right now.
We're going to have more of the same tomorrow when it comes to volatility. I don't know about tariffs, but we get CPI numbers tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Expectation is for the headline number to be 2.6, down from 2.8. The core number to be 3.0, down from 3.1. And if those numbers, if it comes in under expectation, then we're ripping higher. If it comes in over expectation, we're dropping back down. Like right now, it is going to be, in my opinion, turbocharging whichever direction that's going to be playing out. So, but it keeps going up. So confusing. Yeah. Kevin, if you want to touch on that. And then we have PPI on Friday, which is a more forward-looking inflation number. So a lot still. And I think this is a hell of a time if you're good at it to be a swing trader, right? Like if you bought the bottom of Bitcoin equities yesterday, you can, and you're playing with volume, or if you are smart enough to play with leverage, which I do not, hell of a day to take some profit, right? Like maybe it rips higher, but maybe you can still, add to your longer term holdings, but sell your shorter term stuff and turn a really nice profit over the last 24 hours. So if that is your game, good on you. Hopefully you weren't part of the huge contingent that got liquidated on Bitcoin earlier today.
Yeah. So when it comes to this 10-year, the truth is they don't know what they're doing. And that sounds like the biggest cop-out answer. It sounds like literally an answer from The Big Short, does it not? Like just stupidity and fraud. Someone's brother-in-law is getting arrested. It's so dumb right now when I see what they're trying to do with this. Again, going after China is such a wild play because who holds the most amount of U.S. debt? It's in Asia. It's China and Japan. So someone's got to buy that up. It's the Fed. They're doing stealth QE. Doing this to China. The markets are reacting, batshit nuts right now. You haven't really gotten the reaction from China. I know that they have put out travel restrictions for the U.S. and China. That's one thing, given their unfriendliness in economic trade. That's something they just put out maybe about an hour ago. But we haven't seen what their retaliation will be. And that's the thing. It's like everyone's cheering because the Death Star blew up. Well, you forget that The Empire Strikes Back is the sequel to that movie. That being said, you're going to see some type of reaction. And I think it's probably going to be a very violent reaction in the markets. I'm going to pull up the charts real quick right now, the S&P, just so we can get moving on that. But I was pointing this out that we're in an ABC corrective pattern from the high, right? It's kind of this on the hourly. Let's go to the daily and kind of see what we're looking at right here. Let's erase that. You're seeing 5 waves down, 3 waves up, 5 waves down. The only problem is you haven't gotten the 5th wave. You're in the 4th wave right now. And unless this candle starts going higher than, say, 54.91, then you're pretty much in a very precarious position that this thing could just drop 900 points. And it could turn very quickly, right? And the reason I say that is if we go on the shorter time frames, let's go to the hourly. We have 5 waves down here, right? Let's go here. You got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. You got 3 waves moving up. Now, this would be our wave. Actually, no, this isn't even right. Our 5th wave hasn't happened yet. So this would be our 4th wave. And our 3rd wave would be down here. That being said, waves 2 and waves 4 always have 3 waves within them, ABC, ABC. Now you're looking for a 5th wave drop within this final 5th wave, which would take us much, much lower. And, the fact that the markets are juiced and they're primed and they shot up this much, this quick. Let's look at the daily volume on this. As the price is pushing up, daily volume's still lower than it was the previous few days. We pull up the stochastic RSI. Yes, we could start pushing to the upside, and maybe this goes into the weekend. But I'm not so necessarily sure that this is going to last for a prolonged period of time. I think a lot of people think that the bottom is put in. I think you and I both agreed that we aren't going to see this V-shaped recovery in equities. But looking across the board at what levels, you can see that this 54.50 level has been a key one for me. I think that that's probably going to be where we might wick to. I don't know if it's going to hold or not. If it doesn't, then obviously we're looking at this completely being invalid. But if we look at the NASDAQ, You filled this gap. It looks like you can probably fill this one right here at 19,173. And for the Dow, you're just
That's
testing.
such a crazy number on the day for the Nasdaq. 11 and a quarter. That's nuts.
It's literally the highest return since October of 2008 when it scam pumped everyone. I'm not saying it's 100% given that it's going to do the same thing, but when we look at these numbers and how fast they've shot up and the volume on some of these, like obviously, yes, there's a lot of buying volume, but it's still nothing compared to the volume we had the previous few days. And I count 4 wave counts so far. I don't count a fifth one. The fifth one takes us much lower to that, I'll even be nicer right now and say 4,500 on the S&P. The Fed isn't going to step in and get QE where we're going to get a true bottom until something breaks, right? Nothing's broken. And you're also seeing, who was it, Goldman Sachs or someone else today rescinded their
it was Goldman.
The recession fears. Guys, is this not more of a thing just to suck everyone in? I mean, this is arguably one of the easiest traps I'm pointing out right now that I've seen. Obviously time will tell whether it's a trap or not, but this is insane. Now you got the VIX getting crushed, right? What's happening? Everything that they need to unwind, sell from higher, all of the instruments that they can make way more money on are all coming back. So guess what? They're selling at 5,400, and then maybe they're watching the VIX get crushed to the point where it gets down to that level, and they buy the shit out of the VIX, and you have another rip up. It just seems like that's where we're going. We have not had the event. Bottoms need the event for it to just be like, okay, that's it. Everyone's going to capitulate here. And that's when the market absolutely reverses on them. It's not when Trump tweets. Maybe it is. I don't know. This guy is a very different president than we've seen from others in the past. But it's just a lot of confluence here that's telling me that we aren't done with this move to the downside. A lot of people are euphoric right now. The currencies are out of whack. The treasuries got kind of out of whack. I don't think the treasuries are done going up either, right? This thing tells me that we're going to 6%, maybe by September. This is a bull flag. And what's the only thing that can stop this? Probably a market crash that scares everyone out of equities and into treasuries. That being said, if you're also equity heavy and you're seeing this at 6%, you're probably going to buy a shit ton of those too. And then maybe even if you sell them at a loss, you've made a ton of money compared to where they'll be when the market starts to bottom for the bond market, or I guess top for the treasury market. So that's just kind of the thoughts on TradFi across the board. This seems very trappish to me. That's just my opinion though. And then when we look at what happened in Asia last night, this is absolutely insane too. This is the reason why the treasuries were going crazy. The banks were failing in Asia last night. The yen carry trade went sub 145 on the yen. They're defending this with their fucking lives. They do not want this to go any lower. That being the case, if it does go lower, then you are probably going to see it's probably because of some type of event that happens in global markets. And it's going to spend the next, at least 2 to 5 years filling all these gaps down here. Maybe it only takes 1 year. Who knows? That being said, you got some gaps here in Asia as well. For China actually closed green on the night after Japan having a pretty bad night and U.S. futures looking like shit. But, it's a very, very hard market to navigate if you believe everything that you see. If you're kind of just back, you have your buys and you know what you kind of want to invest in, you won't be as hurt in these fluctuations to the upside or to the downside, right? Over the past few weeks, just with GameStop, I've literally I think I've made money, to be honest, with all of the volatility in there. So not necessarily the most volatile stock for the time being, but everything else is extremely susceptible to the volatility that we're seeing with tariffs, with debt markets, and all this shit, all the crazy shit that's been going on across all of equities. And yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look. I mean, I don't know what kind of TA we can do when it's just nothing but giant green candles everywhere, but we can take a look at some of these charts. I mean,
yeah,
we got to take a look at Fartcoin, because Fartcoin is on an absolute heater right now.
Well, yeah, man. See, this is a wild time to look at Fartcoin because I would probably buy even here. Maybe that's a top. I hope it's not for you.
I don't think it is. I think
it's going a lot higher. This is a cup and handle pattern. I mean, that's what we talked about, was it not?
I I posted earlier on Twitter that when it comes to Fartcoin, I got to get you in on the nomenclature. It's not the stochastic RSI, it's the stochastic RFI, the relative fart indicator. So just so you know, it's still moving toward. It's about halfway through the RFI. So plenty of momentum to the upside for Fartcoin here.
These stupid things are going to rip. So say there is some type of crash in the market, right? Yeah, it's 900 points, and then Powell's going to come out and be like super bullish, right? Or not bullish, but dovish. Let's take this trend line right here. Where could it crash to? 46 cents is a very reasonable, I think, assessment of where that could be, right? That being said, if it gets to 46 cents and it's holding there and it starts climbing, on the side over here, this cup and handle is probably going to break out pretty hard. And that would kind of align with QE. So am I in on it right now? No. Will I be? Honestly, stupider things have fucking happened, and I might be a buyer of Fartcoin. Nothing crazy, but this thing could definitely see some push to the upside, especially if there is some type of talk of QE. All there needs to be is a whisper of quantitative easing, and I think certain things will take off. This, honestly, from a technical perspective, seems like a very sound chart. That's crazy for me to be saying, but I see this. This is, you can't scoff at that.
What is your, just real quick, because I love that we're talking about Fartcoin at the moment. Where is your, what's your median outcome on this if it is forming this cup and handle pattern?
I mean, this is squeeze territory. Probably new all-time high.
Don't squeeze those farts out too soon, okay?
Here's the thing. If we do get QE, it's not going to be the big boys that are taking off in this market. It's going to be the small cap, the low, market cap things that just go absolutely insane. Fartcoin makes fucking total sense that it's one of them, right? It's going to be the small caps that do extremely well once we get to QE. Why? Obviously, you can bet more on them. They're going to see a lot of gamblers come into the markets and just speculate, and you always see that. It's no different than the meme coins that we saw at the end of the bull run. You're going to see the same thing in TradFi with all these small companies, like maybe Bed Bath Beyond, or if that company's still around, AMC's. Like, you're going to see stupid shit just absolutely go off the wall, and then I don't know, middle of August hits, and then everyone's like, oh, okay, well, our debt's coming back due again. That's the other thing too I got to talk about real quick. I talked about the 5 years coming due, right? The 5-year debt. Think about what happened in 2022, 2 years after the pandemic. When did the market start to crash? February, March, right? Fair enough. They did say that they were going to raise rates because inflation was out of the going crazy. But when did the market crash a second time? September, October. When did they borrow those things? March, September. 5 years later, what's happening? March and April. You're not telling me that there's not a pattern here. This is the easiest playbook right now for seeing what the market's going to do. That's literally what I'm basing it off of. But yeah, I honestly think that we will have a summer rally because of some type of QE that gets them up a little bit higher to sell. And that's why I think stupid shit like Fartcoin, GameStop's not stupid. Fartcoin's not stupid. I take it back. But memes, and low market cap things will absolutely just be.
Don't you dare
insane.
Besmirch the good name of Fartcoin.
I'll be a fart sniffer, I guess. Is that what you guys are called? The holders?
No.
Okay, maybe that's the other coin. There's
Just
another one. Fartcoiners. That's a good name. Let's look at Bitcoin real quick. Because this is also funny. Again, another thing that's showing me that we're probably in a bit of a trap. I still think we're going a little bit lower, but look where Bitcoin goes straight to. Goes straight to the apex, wicks up above it, right at it, resistance, holding somewhat strong despite a massive green candle. I don't know if the market fully believes in this move, or if it's just let's just try and buy while other people are distributing. If we look across the board still, look at that. 54.50 right to it. Everything is right at the key level of resistance right now. Obviously, the NASDAQ, I didn't put one up there, but it filled the gap. Actually, yeah, it's right at it. It filled the gap. The Dow, you're on that line. It filled the gap. Could it go a little bit higher? Sure, but it's actually at a pretty historic trend line right there. Going back to Bitcoin, these things are kind of moving too fast, too quick. It's almost seems like they just needed a bounce of liquidity in there. I don't know if people are going to be holding this up here, or people are going to keep buying it, because you are at these levels of resistance. Like, look, Bitcoin's up $6,000 on the day, 8.04%. Look at Bitcoin dominance kind of taping off, because I think a lot of people are also buying into these alts. Yeah, the alts are going crazy, right? XRP is up 13%, ETH 11%. Is there a run up here to this trend line? I don't know. It's Ethereum, so temper your tamper whatever it is, your expectations. Solana, I mean, it's up 13%, but it doesn't look really much like shit right here. You know, it just doesn't seem like much. I mean, even if I draw this line right here for Link, I'm not following Link one bit. So you got that one there, and then you have this shorter one here. I mean, maybe it breaks out and goes up to here, but it could also just get rejected right here. And then we just have a very flash crash into OPEX next week. So across the board, that's kind of what we're looking at. I don't really have much else to say other than GameStop, again, in the green, 8%, but that's just, collateral, I guess, positivity from the market doing what it's doing right now. Which I should say, Ryan Cohen bought more yesterday, and so did Larry Chang. So GameStop, a lot of insider buys. That's good to see. FFAI continues to be the UBS bet, just rounding out on the bottom here, wicking off this level. It could go as low as like 94 cents, I'm thinking. But if it continues to stay within this, then I do think that it is prime for some type of major move come post OPEX. So like Monday the 21st or the Tuesday the 22nd. Maybe that comes in line with a lot of the options that are coming due for GameStop on the 17th. So just a quick update on that. Is there anything else you think we should go over? Or
now we'll be back on Friday. We'll go over the inflation data, whatever else is going on. So
yeah,
I think we're good for today.
I think it's going to be volatile short term at some point. I just don't know. I'm very interested to see what China's reaction is. I think that's the most important thing right now.
Yeah, it's I don't know. This is all
scary,
just,
right?
I'm not personally scared right now, just due to the fact that like I'm happy with the positions I'm in. I feel like I'm pretty well balanced at the moment, and I also know that once you've been through multiple events like this, you build up a little bit of a callus to it, which is why for a lot of people I'm like, sometimes you don't want to hold these things. Like people who are trying to time the bottom, like I saw so many people on Monday like, oh, I'm moving it all into stables, and I'm just like, you're not going to catch the bottom. It's going to bounce hard, and you're not going to believe that the rally is legit. And so it's just like, yeah, I get it sucks seeing your portfolio going down, but at the same time, like, build up the callus to it. Understand that, like, if you're selling and say you're selling for a gain, you're going to have to set some of that cash aside for taxes. And then, are you really going to buy at the right time? I doubt it. You're probably not smart enough to do that.
I do hope one thing happens. I hope Trump makes capital gains not a thing in 2025, because I'm pretty sure that us and anyone watching this show might be the only people who can take advantage of that. Because I mean, this would be an amazing year for them not to do capital gains.
Dude, if I could get Fartcoin to $10 billion market cap and not have capital gains on it, oh God, I would be the happiest person alive.
I'm not a man that expects a lot out of this administration or even the previous one or any.
I expect nothing.
Yeah, I expect nothing, and I expect to owe them at some point. But that would be a nice little gift, and I don't know if many people will take advantage of it or be able to, but I would be greatly appreciative.
Me too. All right, that's going to wrap it for today. We'll be back on Friday, discuss whatever the hell else is going on in the markets. I mean, who knows? 48 hours from now, things could be back in the toilet. I have no clue. But thank you to those of you who joined us today. If you haven't yet, hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Drop us a comment. Follow us on social media. Whatever else. Appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.